Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster here on this Sunday night, March 5th, 2023. It is about 9:34 p.m. here along the west coast in California, and the latest earthquake activity shows, looks like a 4.0 coming in to the region of the Middle America Trench. Got some activity ramping up significantly down there over the past couple days, so keep an eye on that spot here for some future movement. Taking a look at the latest activity here across the region, starting off in Southern California. Got a couple earthquakes lighting up down here in the Southern California area, right around the San Jacinto fault zone, south of the Riverside area, obviously way down here. But been seeing a little bit of swarming kicking off here. Got about 23 earthquakes in the last 24 hours. The last 7 days adds, a little bit more, but a little bit further to the north along that same fault system up here. So a couple different segments around the area. A little sign of some regional uptick here in Southern California area. The San Andreas Fault for now is this darker red color line indicating, not too much activity out there right now. One little earthquake down off of another segment of the San Jacinto fault zone. It's riddled with faults along this major plate boundary. So keeping an eye on that area for the most part. The rest of California, though, looks fairly quiet. Clear Lake Volcanic Field up here with the Calpine hydrothermal operations ongoing. Very typical movement up there. We did see one earthquake here outside of the Stony Gorge Reservoir, west of Willows. 2.8 at 4.5 kilometers deep early this morning. A look at Northern California up here, 1.6 coming in this afternoon, 25 kilometers deep. So I'm guessing there's going to be some tremor down there. Let me see what we got for tremor along the Cascadia subduction zone. And I was right. Yeah, a little bit of activity kicking up here. Scattered pretty much up and down the Cascadia today. Definitely seen some in Northern California as well. That could be contributing to some of the activity here in Northern California, a little bit further upstream. Remember, tremor activity tends to take place further right here on this map, further inland, but also deeper. The further right you go here on the map, the deeper it gets. So this activity, tremor activity, occurs about 35, 45 kilometers downstream into the subduction zone. This earthquake upstream, 25 kilometers. All right, Pacific Northwest, relatively quiet. Intermountain West areas as well. Not a whole lot popping out here. Just going to give a quick glance here at the Yellowstone thumbnails across the Wyoming area, and there's really not a whole lot to chat about here. It looks like things are relatively calm across the super volcano for now. Down into the Puerto Rico area. Did see a couple more earthquakes since this morning, mostly 2s, although a 3.8, couple 3.8s popped up here in this area around the Dominican Republic and the, looks like the U.S. Virgin Islands area, seen some activity as well. Overall sign of definitely an uptick here in this region. It's been off and on like that for the past couple days. Okay, into the Middle America Trench, 4.3 coming in early this afternoon, but as noted here on the globe, we're seeing a little bit more activity within the last couple hours upstream of that prior movement. So at least 2 4-pointers occurring a little bit within this area within the last hours. So continue to watch that. Down into the South America region, only 2 earthquakes being reported. Okay, well, let's see what else we got. Mostly 2s. There's some of those earthquakes USGS was reporting, but the EMSC model showing a couple more deeper movement quakes along the Peru-Chile Trench, mostly 2s and 3s within this area. South Sandwich Islands pretty quiet. The Atlantic Ocean quiet and clear for now. We did have a 5.8 earthquake here, well south of New Zealand, near the Macquarie Island area. 5.8 originally coming in, I think it came close to a 6-pointer. But looking at a steady 5.8 for now, 10 kilometers deep. That is in a region right down here that sees a couple different fault setups, but for the most part, it is a divergent type boundary, meaning the separation of the seafloor along with some fractures out here. Not for sure if we got any specific fracture names, but yeah, kind of where that's at. New Zealand for now looks pretty quiet. Let me check the EMSC model. And only a 3.2 showing up earlier today. Fairly deep. Let's go check out the GeoNet servers, shall we? Let's see what we got. 17 minutes ago. Let me make sure we got the most recent update. 23 minutes ago, 2.3 North Island. A couple hours ago, looks like some 1s and 3s. There's that 4.4 from yesterday. All magnitudes here. Couple 2s and 3s, some 1s out there, of course, very common. Well, let's go ahead and check out Taupo Super Volcano and see if we got anything significant kicking up. Doesn't look like it. If anything, some of this activity is more specifically located near this area. I'm not 100% certain how to pronounce that one. Yeah, so I'll look into that. But either way, nothing major going on. And again, Taupo Super Volcano here looks like fairly calm for now. Did have a little bit of activity kicking up yesterday and this morning, but no major swarms kicking off here across New Zealand for now. Up into the Tonga Trench area, a couple 4s, including that 4.9 coming in this morning. 256 kilometers deep. Most of the activity here, look at this earthquake hitting in our watch zone earlier this afternoon. A 5.1 coming in. I think things are finally starting to unzip along this area. We'll continue to watch the northern end of the Java Trench up around the Andaman Sea regions and portions up through the Myanmar area. This area has been in my spotlight for a little while, and well, 5.1, definitely expecting a lot more movement than that, but it could be a sign of something coming. So we'll continue to watch that. I don't see any other smaller quakes kicking up there now, but we'll continue to keep an eye on that region. Some deeper movement quakes around the Banda Sea and west of Papua New Guinea here, Indonesia islands. Got to keep an eye on the Philippines. This area has been rocking and rolling pretty nicely across the last couple days. The last 7 days of activity shows quite a bit of uptick here across this area of the Philippine Trench. There is some specific fault systems that do run through here. Of course, USGS is only showing the plate boundary, so specific faults lie. Let's see, I was just looking at this area. I think it's called the Philippine fault. Let's see exactly where we're at here. Up here in the Philippines, plate boundary sits over here. A lot of the activity kicking up is on this specific fault system. Let's see. I thought there was a different name than that. Let me see what we got. I thought it was a Philippine fault zone. One of these, but either way, yeah, I think it's occurring more down here. But there's definitely been a little bit of activity kicking up here in this specific region. I pulled up some historical earthquake activity. I thought I did. Not for sure where it went to. But there's a little bit of seismic gap in certain fault systems here in the Philippines that are, I would say, somewhat overdue for some larger magnitude quakes. Of course, most of the larger earthquakes tend to occur around the plate boundaries, but similar to California, we got specific fault systems that run inland a ways, and a couple of those faults are definitely overdue for some larger scale activity, and it's been kind of ramping up here recently in the Philippines. The Mariana Trench and the Izu Trench up here looks fairly quiet. Looking at the globe, 4.6, and that is the earthquake being reported there by the USGS as well. But for the most part, man, goodness, things are awfully quiet there. 4.4 out here along the Aleutian Trench, False Pass, the False Pass area, well south of there, I would say. 47 kilometers deep for that 4.4. Into the interior area of the Alaska region. Most of the movement has been confined up here north of the Cook Inlet area, stretching up towards Denali. Some deeper movement off and on over the last couple days in that area. One earthquake here near the Pakistan area, it looks like. 4.0 early this evening. And, of course, aftershock activity out there in Turkey continuing. One earthquake way into Syria. That was last night. But for the most part, the activity had been confined around that plate boundary. Although a little bit further south. Let me see what we got here. Another 2.7 coming in as we speak. But, yeah, most of this all somewhat smaller quake activity across Turkey currently, with very minimal movement across the Mediterranean and areas off the coast of Morocco within this channel here. Atlantic Ocean, again, pretty quiet. Yeah, so right now I think we're just kind of in a little bit of quiet times. I mean, obviously, plate tectonics never stop. It's always continuing. There's always earthquakes, always. And if we were to run the one-pointers across the globe, this thing would be filled entirely, I think. But as far as any specific movements to watch, I think areas down here around New Zealand need to be on guard due to the activity that we've seen up along the Kermadec Trench over the past, week or so. We did see quite a bit of deeper activity, including that 6.9, but only minimal adjustment here across New Zealand. So with this new activity down here in the Macquarie Island area, I want to keep an eye on things down there. California, though, I don't know what's going on with California. It's like immune to earthquakes. It's almost like everything's been cemented shut. No more plate tectonics in action out here along the West Coast. That's bad news. Definitely bad news here for California. These plates have to move. The general plate movement here shows us the direction of the North American plate. General overall movement here of the plate shows it, these large arrows here, the darker colored arrows. But at the same time, you're looking at the interaction here between the Pacific and the North American plates sliding past each other. So eventually that's going to break, and looking at the large potential out here. I've seen a couple articles today being put out by KTLA, the TV station down in Los Angeles, about the overdue southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. I mean, it's since about 1690. This section right here, easily could produce a 7.9 to 8.1. And, it's a matter of time. And it's all too quiet here recently in California. Let's see here. Space weather. We did have another M flare kickoff. Goodness. And that is from the sunspot. We're just getting that blackout occurring right now. It looks like as far as the activity goes. Don't worry, the sun is still there, but every 24 hours or so we get that blackout of data with the Earth getting in view of the spacecraft that monitors the space weather activity. But yeah, we did have a pretty strong long duration M flare from 3243 up here. It has produced a couple M flares here recently. But the latest imagery, if you look here, there's quite a bit of complex inner colors here, indicating a complex structure in the magnetic field. But that it's going away. If it wanted to make itself known, it should have done it a little bit more sooner when it was facing the Earth. But now it's wants to misbehave once it gets on the northwestern side of the sun. And we are left with a couple different sunspots. I've noticed here this one continues to be an area of interest. It is large, and we're getting a couple complex areas here of development. But also down here, this noticeable sunspot might want to keep an eye on as well. Looking far out here along the eastern limb of the sun, there's some new sunspots there as well. So very active in terms of sunspot activity The SFI index there, 180, somewhat moderate. But looks like right now, 99% chance of a C flare. M flare at 55% chance. 10 flare. I did that last night. X flare at 10% chance. And only a 1% chance of a proton event. There's our flares over the last 24 hours or 48 hours. And if you look, the last two was from 3243. So we continue to keep an eye on it. The elevated conditions that they were possibly forecasting, looks like they're staying just that minimum here. The auroras don't look all that active for the most part, unfortunately, but I'm sure we will continue to see threats heading at us as these other sunspots face us, and hopefully we'll get a nice CME blasting off here towards the Earth. All right, real quick glance here at the West Coast weather. I am looking out here, folks, into the forecast, and it looks wet here for the West Coast. And after all the rain, massive amounts of snow up there in the mountains, this could be a little bit on the worrisome side as we bring in some warmer air, warmer storms indicating higher snow levels. So there's already a lot of accumulated snow at some lower levels. Look at that. Almost no snow with this storm system. So that means areas, probably going to have snow level above 8,000 feet. So anything below that, all that's going to melt and create possible flooding conditions out here in certain areas. So this is something I'm keeping an eye on pretty closely. And this storm track looks like it's going to be, we've heard about it a lot, an atmospheric river. And that's kind of what it's looking like, just bringing in a stream of warmer air and moisture into the West Coast. And there's another one behind that. Look at that low pressure system there. This goes to about the 22nd. So I'm going to show you guys something real quick. Check out this total accumulated precipitation map that goes out to the 22nd. Look at that rainfall total out here. We're talking about inches of rain, and maybe a foot of rain out here within areas of the Coast Range, which is very typical, right? For us here in the valley, we're talking another 5 or 6 inches of rain here. That's pretty significant for the month of March, and that's this could go down as one of the wettest winters on record out here for California. And of course, snowfall at the extreme higher elevations once we get this warm front, or not warm front, but warmer storm activity coming in. Now, snowfall, there will be snowfall, obviously, continuing. Total snowfall here. And, yeah, goodness, look at these. Look at that. 83 inches, 59 inches on top of everything that we have. Now, this is the snow-liquid ratio, pending that this is snow. Otherwise, this will be a lot of moisture coming into the West Coast. So I'm going to cover this. I might be doing a little bit more in-depth detail forecast tomorrow, possibly. I'm going to see what Windy is forecasting out here. Low pressure system up there. Rain accumulation here over the next... get rid of this here. I don't know why this thing pops up all the time. Next 10 days. There we go. There's a stream of moisture flowing in here to the West Coast, and that's going to bring quite a bit, obviously, of some precipitation out here. This is the ECMWF model predicting, we're forecasting upwards of 10 inches of rain. I'm sure locally higher in certain areas. 11 inches of rain up around the Crescent City area. Up around Redding, potentially getting at 9 or 10 inches. Here in the Sacramento Valley, notice that green area. That's indicating a little bit of rain shadow. But still in certain areas around, that looks like maybe outside of Colusa, 3 inches of rain. A little bit further on the east side of the valley, more accumulation. So this could be a quite a dandy of a March, folks, and it stretches all the way back here. As long as we've got low pressure troughs out here, being able to utilize that moisture, this will stay pretty wet out here along the West Coast, and I think that will kick us out of the drought completely Let's see what we got here for the current drought. DROU drought monitor. California. I want to take a look at this here real quick and see what we got for the current drought conditions. It looks a lot better than what it did. We were into the exceptional drought across a good portion of Northern California here. Southern California, look at that, clearing up nicely. Areas along the Monterey area and Central and Southern California coastline looking good. Here in portions of the Sacramento Valley, it shows that we're still in the severe drought, but that was posted on the 2nd. I think this will change drastically by the first week of April. I think this will be clear. I'm pretty certain that we'll see none out here. So that's good news. We'll continue to watch that and monitor that and see how it plays out, right? All right, seismographs look clear for now. No major earthquakes incoming. Have a good night, folks. We will catch you back out here tomorrow. You guys want to know that word? Monday. Tomorrow is the M word. A lot of people don't like it. I definitely know what you mean. My hotkeys aren't working, so I got to do it the old-fashioned way. Have a good night, folks. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow morning. Take care, everyone.